Be-dum, be-dum, be-dum. We should have a musical intro. What do you think? Well, welcome. My name's Blades, and this is a programming games club. More about the people, less about me. At long last. Players. That's what we're doing today. Players. Unstable. Why am I unstable? We seem to have an unstable connection. Let's just check. Not according to this, we haven't. We've got perfectly stable stream. Okay. Right, let's talk about things coming up. Oh, hello, viewer. Good to see you. It's appreciated, actually. I do get viewers. Don't expect them. Sunday is our review day. Things are going well this week already. So we may be looking at ideas to be placing in our game. Our game is coming along. Let's take a look and see. Well, we have quite a lot of stuff, some of which we've got through. Quite a bit we got through. Monday. Today being a Wednesday, we're going to get to the meat of the week. Meat of the week, which is the player. Okay. Well, let's go over to a Linux machine. Is that you? See if we can find a mouse for it. We've got a mouse for it. We've got an old disaster of a keyboard for it. And what's going on here? Sandbox is going on here. We have code for it, and it's public. So yeah, up on GitHub, Fraserblade Sharp, Sandbox, view the code. I think we're up to date. Yeah, that's looking pretty up to date. So, yeah, go get it. It's on the master. There is a development branch. Currently should be the same. There's a space. Never mind. I'm hoping to keep the master up to date this time, depending on whether I can decide whether it's any good or not. Which means we have a new toy. Here we go. Yes, I can now push, pull, and... Hey, I can pull. Cool. Might get a bird. Not allowed to say that. That's sexist. Well, it is in some people's mind. So we're on the development branch. We'll see how it goes, I guess. Let's review the code, because it's changed, obviously. Well, there's your starting code for today. Should be on the master branch. Just download it if you want it. Everything that I write you should be able to use in any Windows, Mac, Linux thing. Maybe, if you're lucky. I'll keep that up for you. So we have an ECS, we have some picture, well, we have a picture, we have core, and we have the output. What does this all look like? Well, there's a slight change. Well, a few changes actually, because I needed to see what was going on. So run. Current state of play is we have... Oh, I did test it out in release this time. I've added a terminal, so I can get my output up there. Hit spacebar to continue, so we'll do that. And I've put dots in the background to see what's going on with this area that we can move around in, which is WASD. You might notice there's a big gap now. This is going to be for displaying stats, information and stuff later on, possibly. My keyboard just cut out. It does whenever I start this keyboard up. Right, it's set. Always resets itself at the beginning of each day. You can see that there's the P is bigger than a dot, so yeah, there's that. Can't go out of bounds. Can't go out of bounds. Can't go out of bounds. Looking good. Alright, so we have, yeah, I even redesigned my title. And the exit button works now from within the UI. I'll show you how I did that. That was interesting. That's the first change that's the biggie. Well, one of the biggies. What I did was down here, I went to Signals and Slots Editor. I found the exit button here on a menu. Signal clicked, Receiver Application window, then I just chose Slot Close. That means I could take the code out, because this is now all within the UI interface here, well, the UI, rather than within our program. So that was a biggie, because it took some code out. Meanwhile, back in the code, we won't look at that yet. This is what we've got left. We have... Can I take that to the right a little? Can. What size are we at? I was messing about with the size. Ah, right, let's get the size going. We get this smaller. Yeah, I suppose we can. Oops, don't want to do that. There we go, get Krakens up at the top. Good. Give ourselves some space there. That's looking okay for a setup for a window for him. Yeah, it looks a bit more cleaned up. I introduced a new initialize engine. We just have application, because I'm using a destructor due to the fact we have these down here. We've only got 3 left. So we only have 1 entry point now into our code called Midnight, as it's the Midnight engine. I thought I'd call it that. And yeah, that's pretty sweet. Our application code now has become a little bit more interesting. We obviously create our bits and pieces. We now set it all up. Set up the timer as normal, which we've got a precise timer. We connect the timer to our on update. Put in a welcome message, why not? And the application deletes on destruction. The run method now only starts the timer. The on update method just updates midnight. The key press event sends the event through to move player. I didn't want all that garbage in here. Still got those two if statements. If anybody can get rid of them, please let me know. And of course, initialize engine is just initialize, register the output, make sure it registers, and just pop the result out onto the console, and set the player position. Everything else is done by the key press, obviously, because we're just on movement. But we still don't have a player. Something interesting happened though when I was taking the code out and placing it into our new place. We don't need this anymore. It's irrelevant. Midnight. This is currently, because it's core and it's an interface, this is currently doing too much, but hey ho, it's the first rendition. We've got a scene, we've got the output, we've got a camera, a player. I decided to put a camera in because later on we will need it when we go into graphics. We put a player in and we have our text view. Now I want to talk about that today actually. I want to tell you why it works when it really shouldn't, but it does because of something I've done. We're using scene, which is our ECS. Notice we've got our ECS working now. We've got our text output working. What haven't we got working? Oh, we've got our intro picture working. That's okay. ECS is working. So we've got everything done. Still don't have any systems. That's why this is doing too much. Let's have a look at this lot. So, Midnight CCP. Pretty simple stuff. Scene initialize. So we initialize our ECS, which needs to change today as well. We initialize the camera, scene identity, player identity, and this is where the problem occurs. On update, output on update with the text view. Whatever text view, what we've got in that string will go to that text view. And that's just a Q string. We register output. Basically, we take this from our application window. So we register our output as UI text display, which gives us a text output. That text output is on the header file. This QPlane text edit here, text output. Just trying to think. So we're actually taking part of the UI and sending it through to our engine here as whatever it says it is. Application window, text output. Yeah, that's fine. So register text output, and we just take our pointer, reset it to output. We initialize it, getting ourselves our initialized text view. And if the result is a null pointer, sorry, if the result is not a null pointer, And then we put true in here and return true. Otherwise, this is coming back as false, and false goes in here. Yeah, it's just to stop an if statement. As you can see, there's very little on the if statements going on in here. Set player position looks a bit messy, but that's because we've got no systems. And the key event still looks a bit messy, but you can see now that we are using our component position for the player position. So we now can update our output, and we can set our player position to M's. N? Why have we got M's in here? Let's do this properly. So these are all the if statements that we're not using, as usual. It's not that I don't like if statements, but they do mess up your assembly code. You can trust me on that one. Because I'm not a doctor. Ah, you use Git Kraken too. Yeah, I just popped it on as one of the first choices I came across, and it worked okay. So I thought, well, I'll use that instead of whatever's internal on here. It wasn't working okay. For me, anyway. How you doing, Nano? Good to see you back. Anything you want, Nano? This is a games club. Anything that you want to know about programming? Game for a laugh with it, as you already know. I'm now freelance. I'm no longer Amber Skies. I've had 3 job offers in the last week. Yeah, I've had to turn down 3 jobs in the last week. That was interesting. One was in Basingstoke. I thought, yeah, okay, I wouldn't mind that job actually, but you know, travelling to Basingstoke in my state of health might be a little tricky. Oh yeah, we're on a P now, aren't we? We're going to change that to an @ symbol today. Back to our @ symbol. So this is looking okay. As you can see, we're using references now, which are shared pointers. A reference is a shared pointer as the code that I've used before for it in here. So we have a ref, create ref. Nothing fantastic, it's just a template type to save me having to write out all of this garbage here. Basically. And it looks better in the code. So everything starts to make sense until we look at this here. So the first thing we've got a problem is with this registry. Now the only reason why this works currently is that the registry and the entity are synchronized. That is this C# or C++? Is there a difference? It's C++, it's Qt I'm using at the moment because it's got a nice GUI system. There you go. We'll run it, I'll show you. There you go. Nice GUI system with very easy to use thingamajiggies. So this is my console. If you were doing like a rogue, just got my output. That's my text edit thingy, and the buttons work. I've popped this up just so I can see what the hell's going on. And it compiles in 2 seconds, which is a slight improvement over what we've been used to before with things like Visual Studio. So I thought I'd use this. Registry player is in sync, but let's just have a quick look at that. We're going to have to get this sorted before I can do the player class, which is next. So under, not implementation, it's the header. So we go to our ECS and have a look at our scene. It's a vector. I mean, I'm quite happy to do C#. I just don't really like it. It's one of those Microsoft constructed languages which is just caught on because it's fashionable. And it's Java with a semicolon. And I don't understand. No. It just... It's more difficult to use than Qt. And it also takes up a lot more memory. It's not compiled properly. And the compilation has a hell of a lot of bugs in it. So I'm trying to keep away from C# if I can. I mean, I'm quite happy to use it. We do have a public GitHub for this now, by the way, if you want to use any of, like this ECS is fantastic. Well, it will be any second now. This Q vector, as you can see, if we take, say, the camera out, then the player becomes object 0 and no longer matches. So we're going to have to treat this in exactly the same way as we're treating the entities here. So it's going to have to be one of these array type thingies. And we can set how many entities we want. So instead of being a Q vector, what we should be having is that, which takes that star out of the equation. We don't need that, so we could probably have a reference instead. And that takes that star out of the equation. And look what we've got. We've got something now that we can keep in synchronization with our entities. And I think that will lead to better results in the end. As you can see, look at our ECS system, isn't it huge? We can initialize it, we can add an entity. The words wow come to mind. But I stopped playing that years ago. Let's see what we've cocked up. mregistry equals no. So that now becomes create ref. That we can take that out of. And this thing is what? What's this saying? Array type ref blah 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 is not assignable. Okay, that means it's created one. Do we have an initializer? We do. Good. Because we can keep it in sync. Simple answer to that one. Delete it. mregistry clear, don't need to do that. It's a ref. That disappears. That disappears. That disappears. For now. So Delete. Delete. I like deleting code. Most fun part of what I do. Here, where we initialize, we can add a new line where we have registry. And of course, it's kept in kept in line now. So it's just what index? And we'll pop that equal to item new. Isn't being used on any. Error, no viable load, overload. Is this going to cause problems? Oh god, yes it is. It's not a ref anymore, is it? Don't even need it to be a ref. Jesus. We can just have that. Oh my god. Which messes up that. To that. We'll get to you in a minute. Yeah, that's done already. Yeah, that's okay. Do a quick save all. And just keep modifying this now until it works. No viable overload. Oh, of course. What we got in object? Ba-da-ba-da-boom. So it's just entity ID. That's the only thing we're really concerned about here. There we go. Done. Right, we decided that this wasn't really needed like that anymore. Okay. Isn't that just a star? It's an object. Alright, yeah, I remember this one. It's that. Better put that in. Right, expected an expression. So we're just looking for the reference. Conversion. Indirection requires a pointer. Yes, I know. That's why I was looking at it. I just want to return the pointer to the registry. I don't really want any of this. Can I initialize the return object? Damn it. These are awkward. With an L value. Ah. We're using this for components. And components is void star. And it'd be a const, which we can't have. Out of line definition differs from that in the declaration. Let's just put a void star in. So that would give us a view of the components. Everything else should work literally. There's no pushback. So it's entity ID. Oh, it's a star. We're going to have to sort that out. So this is not a pushback anymore. This is entity. One of them. And it equals an object. That's why it isn't. Okay, got it now. No viable overload, you see. You can't take in a star. Let's see what happens if I change you to that. That goes away. Why? Because it's star star. Oh, come on. The way of doing this, how do you return an array? Because how I used to do it is that. Well, that's the same thing. That. So what is registry now? It's looking for an int star. Star. It shouldn't be. It should be an object star. I want. How do we get to the object? And it can't initial. Done. I didn't realise I'm going to have a problem with returning arrays. How do we access it? We access it like that. It's as simple as. Because they now match up. There isn't an object in them, so instead. Accessing it from here is okay, but how do I access it outside? Right, so what is it? I mean that it's an int. It isn't. Right, we need to get to the... And I do want it const. Care what anybody says. Not altering it. Get it? I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the header file. Love the header file. Unknown type name object. What? Here. Okay, we've got right. We're on. We're going. Don't know why it puts the star there. That's automatic. I didn't do that. All right, let's see if we can get through this step by step. Still doesn't like it. Error. Array initializer must be an initializer. That go inside the bracket. How will that go? That's type T. Create ref. Right, so I really want this to work. I've never tried this on an array. This is why I'm struggling. I don't like it. Not going to work like that. There's no way it's going to work like that. Nice. It'll let me create one. Will it let me then use it? No, you see. I hate arrays in C++. In C, it's nice and easy. I don't know what it's like in C#, but how do we do the return? You have to return the pointer to the first location in the array. That's that. I don't like it with the star there. Go on that side. If I put... Yeah, I thought so. Right. Done. It just wants the first location. Okay, I'm happy. Happy. We have an object going back. So if we go back to midnight, no viable conversion. How do we bring it back in? Error. Array initializer must be an initializer. It should. What have we got it as? Nothing. So it's all within the code. It's got to be an initializer list. What do we get? You're right. Error assigning to from. What are we getting back? Const. That's what I want. Const scene object. Star. No viable overload. Hmm. Oh. I don't like this. Because you can just stick to a null pointer. What can we now do with it? This is an object star. We are receiving const scene objects. Take the address with and. Thank you. Right, lovely. It at least told us how to. And the same has to go here. Now we Oh god, I just took it with a const. Ah. Be a problem. Doesn't seem to be. That's because we're taking the player position outside of it. We're not affecting the registry. We're just affecting what's inside the registry. Okay, well that's... Okay. That's the code. Now the registry must match up. That allows us to alter it later so we can delete things from the registry and reuse unused places, because now I've got it all set to unused, haven't I? Please tell me up to unused. I'll just put a null. Down here. Yeah, we're setting the entity ID. So we do have to set that. Setting up that to a null pointer. We're setting up the entity ID. We can check for null pointers instead of unused. I was hoping that we could... No, what I've got there is safer. It'll throw an exception. We try and access the wrong... Okay. La. It crashed. Try debug that crash. Main 21. Show. We got through all of that just to be not to be able to show it. Registry of output equals true. But yeah, it got through everything. Why can't it display? What's in here that's peacocking us up? Parent, correct. We have location, 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 parent. Ooh, doesn't matter. Children. Does matter. Why haven't we got a parent? On midnight. Camera's at 0. The output is next display output 4 items. We got Alright, that's just set up for that. Does have a pen. The text view is working. Player's working. And the registry is working. It isn't working. Right, so segmentation fault. We are accessing a null pointer. And it's from an entry list. I've got a feeling, only a feeling, that we may have to give it some kind of parent. We have it here, midnight. So I've just done crashes it, as we seem to be going outside of our memory. And it's not detecting it until it tries to do the display. So what it's receiving back isn't the right information. Got you. Could also be the const. Set player position. That's player. Do I need a star there? Not really. That might be better. What? Stay without. That's a copy. And we're back to this. I can do it here. Because it's const. I think we get rid of our constness all around. We'll come back to const. And registry player must be alive at the time. I've seen this happen before with pointers. Which is why I really want to take a reference. Let's move that star again. We're only taking a pointer to registry 0. It's fine because we know how big it is. Can't take a copy of. That's dangerous. The code's correct. The implementation isn't. So we can do this with a vector, but we can't do it with an array. So at that point, it becomes very awkward. Don't like it. I don't like the way that that's gone. So, I'll think on that some more then, won't I? Don't like it. I don't like what I was doing, and I don't like the way I was fighting the system to get it done. I understand why. And I like the vector better. But is it going to be kept? At the moment, yes, so in the future we'll have to keep that in mind. Okay. I'm going to put a note on that. If it isn't kept in sync, you start referencing stuff. And I'm going to leave that note for myself to think on. I need a better answer. Let's do player. Good. Sorted. Not everything that you program is going to work. Be that known. That's why I use things where I can revert me to code back to something that does work. And don't expect everything to work first time. That was an interesting little experiment into arrays, which I'm not happy with. In C, an array is just a pointer. And then a length of memory, a size of memory it points to. You can move around in that memory as you wish. A vector is the same thing in C++, but its functionality is different. It can grow. It's also out on external memory, not on the stack. Okay. We might have just saved ourselves a problem. It also means we can use it differently in the future. So I might tie it in differently and use the copy here. And use some kind of naming convention. Right, what is a player? Well, a player is something we put on the screen. Or we are able to control in some way, shape, form, or fashion. What is a player not? Unique. NPCs, monsters, other players. They're not unique. So we don't want to make a player class. Well, at this point anyway. What we want to do is make something that's not unique. What does a player share in common with everything else in the world? A position, which is the only thing we've got at the moment, which is why we have it. So everything with a position is a player, or is a player inside of a thing that has a position? I think the latter is true. I don't think everything with a position is a player. We need a name for it. And if I remember rightly from our notes from Sunday, we did give it a name. Well, I had a thought of a name. And this goes back to Ultimate Online in 1980s. And what it was called there was a mobile, which I think is a good name. Because you think of a player as being mobile, but that's not actually what it means. It means a mobile as in something that you hang up above your stairs that tinkles a bell every time the wind, like a wind chime. It means that kind of mobile. It means something with dangly things off it. So you can have types of mobile, like floor, player. But what we're looking at is a central location for things that are in our scene. Now, this doesn't go with an ECS. We already have this in the form of an ECS. Why would we need a mobile? And is a mobile a system? And this is where we need to come back over here. If we make it into a class, wrong keyboard. If we make it into a class, it's going to hold data. We've already got the data. It's here in the ECS. So operate on data. I think this is a system. I could be totally wrong. I would put it under class, you see. My instincts, I think I already got done my instinctives. Let's take a look. What did I instinctively do? Because it's just ingrained. Let's have a look inside Rana. Sandbox. Source. I bet I put it into implementation. Yeah. So I have actually put it into the data slot. So that's where we're going to put it for now. It can be moved later. We don't mind. So the player class is going to be called mobile to start off with. Sandbox. Add new. This is what I like. I can put a class in here, which you can't in Visual Studio. It cocks everything up. I don't think I want to add anything. I'm going to call it mobile. And I'll want it in mobile. I'll pop it in here. This might move. Okay, that's going in the right place. I think. Finish. Done. So here we have now in implementation mobile. That's our player. As simple as that. It's not fantastic. Let's make it normal. Let's give it a namespace. That's a good start usually. Do the standards. Let's set it up for success. So we can have a source, night common. We can have a namespace, night. I'm happy with that. You can do a template, by the way, in Qt Creator, and it will take that template and use it to set up these classes. Very nice system. I'm actually impressed with it. It helps me out a lot and stops me from making disastrous mistakes. If anybody's wondering why I always type in empty, it means that I've looked at it and I have left it empty. If you just don't put anything in, somebody might come along one day and think, he's missed something here. No, I haven't missed anything. It's empty. Alright. So it's set up, it's done, that's your player. Well, that's your mobile. What do we keep in here? We keep an ID. Just like an entity, funnily enough. This is why I think it's a system. You don't really need the ID. Oh, we're going to have it anyway. We don't care. Let's start off with that. We can always remove it later on, can't we? What do we need to know? We need to know an ID. So, no, we don't. Do we? Yeah, we do. Call it D. It's going to be, guess what? An int. I also want a ref. Yeah, I don't want a ref. Source. ECS. The scene. I think we're using references. I hope we are at this point. We're not in trouble. We are. That's perfect. So ref. scene. And we'll just call it we're not going to make it. Because, or we do not. We should really. No, don't make it. Whatever you do. So these are the that's the information. I'm going to sneeze. Oh my god. Can't close them. Oh my god. We can take that out. So explicit. So we have to use this one. We're going to use int d and scene. Can't take it by ref. Okay. So m underscore id. Our m scene is m underscore scene dot set to scene. So we gain a reference. That's why I didn't want to create it. I want it to be equal to the scene coming in. That's the easiest way I can think of doing that. Oh, did I capitalize it? I usually do with ID. All right. And that's your mobile. What good is that? Well, if we've got a scene and an ID, we've got access to all of the information. Now, the mobile is the thing that will do what we're doing currently in Midnight. Which is this horrible piece of code, which I'm trying to get rid of to the basement of our code. Bury it deep. The subregions. And it's this stuff here. And this line here. So all of this garbage here. Wouldn't it be nice if we just say player position equals player get position? In other words, player position here equals player get position. That gets rid of all of this garbage. And this garbage is repeated in here. So it's repeated garbage. But we are going to need it more than once. Do it here as well. All of a sudden, this might start making sense. But it's not a player, it's a mobile. And all mobiles have a position. And this is why I wanted it into the data part. Because this isn't a mobile. I've named it wrong. Okay, renaming conventions. Firstly, that ain't just mobile. That's a rename to base mobile. Yes. Oh, thank you. Yes to all. There we go. It's done it for me. Done it for me. Good. Right, let's go back here. This is going to be our base for all mobiles in the game. You can see what's coming up, can't you? Is this needed here? Yes, it is. I'm not doing a find and replace. We haven't done enough for that. And because we've used a ref, we don't need to have a destructor. Okay, that now makes more sense. Alright, it's looking good. So, we're looking at virtual, aren't we? Really, when you think about it, because this obviously isn't the class that we want to instantiate. This is a base class. In fact, I'm not even sure. Oh no, I know how to do that, yeah. Virtual. So what will it be? It would be position component. And this would provide us with get position. Pure virtual. Has to be overridden, otherwise you can't be a mobile. You can see what's going to happen, can't you? But that's the only thing we really need, is it? Do we need a setter? This is an implementation, not a system. Okay. Yeah, it's an implementation, it's not. It doesn't act on the data. Systems act on data. Implementations don't. They control the flow of data. That's all we need. Class name, player. Base class. Nothing for now. Okay. Let's just save all, make sure all our data's there. Let's set this up in our usual fashion. I should really decide on a start place for this. Oh, it doesn't matter. That was a bad idea, doing that. So let's put it into our namespace, as usual. So really what we're doing here is we are creating the basic system. You can see what a monster may look like. Class monster. But no, it's not going to be class monster. It'll probably be like a race or something. Not sure yet, haven't decided. So we have to copy what we've done. Let's finish off shop. It's a simple way of programming that allows you flexibility. And when you're creating games, one thing you need is flexibility and genericness. This is a generic player. Okay. So we go to our mobile. We copy whatever we put in there. Could make the head of it. We could take the header out. How does it know about scene? Look at our mobile class. I'm always going to put that in, no matter what. And hash include mobile, base mobile. So our class is going to inherit from base mobile. Now to do so, it has to implement whatever base mobile has told it to implement. But there's also something else here. This information can be passed over now. Here. So what we can do is say base mobile ID. Thing. Like that. And make sure that people don't, realise that I've left it empty on purpose. We'll do that. So that will set our base mobile up with the ID in the scene. But we must implement this. So we do so. All you have to do is override. That's all you have to do. You don't have to change anything else about the line, just take the equals 0 off and override. Refactor it. We can pop in the definition. You see how it takes all the bits and pieces off. And this is where that code comes in. From our horrible code. The other thing is I don't want base mobile being constructed. So protected. Let's protect that. So people can't construct it themselves. It has to be inherited. Inherited. Yeah, that'll do for now. No template named ref. You're right. My bad. Okay, thank you. That will protect it. We can access protected, so we should be okay. Hoping. Non-void function, yeah. Thank you. Save that. I think that works. All we need now is the get position code, which is in midnight. So it's take it from I'm going to put it in the long format. Mscene is a private member of Night Base Mobile. Long. I'll just remove private. Data does not have to be private. You can protect it instead from outside interference. Effectively, from the outside, it's the same. But from an inherited object, be MID. Okay, what's this? Player position set but not used. Well, yeah, of course. We haven't got to that bit. God. Fathers, it jumps on you, doesn't it, this thing? So let's go with that. Anything I've missed? Nope, that's that horrible code. So now we can make a player in our midnight. It's going to be handbag. It's not handbags at dawn. It's handbags at midnight. Oh dear, what have I done? We add the entity. That returns an int. Not anymore, it doesn't. That's player, base mobile, midnight. Here we go. We can do something quite interesting now. Instead of having int player, we can do hash include. I told you we're going to have a player today, didn't I? Anyway, we think of plan this. I actually haven't, so don't worry about it. There we go. We do not want a direct player. And we don't want that. Actually, this could be interesting. So yeah, we'll do a ref player. Now that we have one, player equals, I'm going to call it mplay. We're going to go with the same format as before, which is that. Do them in the same order. Can we do so? Do we have an ID in a scene? We have a scene. And we have an ID. Good. We are doing well. Yeah, we can do it. I'm not sure that output needs to be there, but hey ho. We'll do it at the bottom here. So, mPlayer. Is create ref. Can you get this thing out of you? Player. And in here, we need an ID, which is m underscore scene. Add entity. Everything's now not going to match up. Comma. We have to do the camera as well. Last. And then we just need the scene, don't we? Which is M scene. This means that this doesn't exist anymore. We have a problem here. We can't do the initialize anymore. What we can, that has to go first. Anything that says equals in brackets. That's how these constructors work. Okay. We'll just leave initialize empty for a minute or two. Yeah, that was quick. So the camera has to be added first for that to equal 1. Otherwise, nothing else will work. We now have a player. And that's player. Get position. Delete. Can you see where this is starting to head now? Oh, I've still got this MPOSX stuff. Okay. Alright. Let's get rid of all this slow whilst we have to do it all again. I mean, this is the best time for testing out your system, is when it's at this stage. And once all the basics and systems are integrated, you can see what's starting to happen to your code. And that's important. Your code is developing, it's becoming its own entity in itself, in that it's transforming into something. It's evolving. Is that still needed? Oh well, we'll keep it for now. Alright, everything looks good in that area. Put space in there. But you can see how the mess that I made has been sorted out. I'll keep that there. We can do the same with camera. Exactly the same with camera. The only thing is it a base mobile? Yeah, it is. We're going to duplicate, aren't we? Yeah. Let's make sure this runs first. Have I forgotten anything? Yeah. No matching constructor for scene. I guess not. How is scene coming through? Scene is coming through as a direct pointer. Alright. Create ref to a scene. Scene. How's about that? Is that any better? No? Still don't like it. We got a void there. I think we have. Where's this base mobile? Let's see what's going on here now. No, we'll do the creation here. We'll create a reference first of all to scene. Like that. Scene shouldn't have anything you need. Correct, straightforward. Go. And then in base mobile, we can do what we were doing before. Why is there no matching constructor for void? Which part can't it construct, sorry? Safe convert night scene, also known as void. Do we take this in as a void? That will construct it behind the scenes still. 19 star point. Yeah, that was good. Construct a percent shared. Good. Thank you. So does that mean now that I don't need this part? Hmm. I'm interested. Why is it still invalid? Shared pointers for you. It's the new allocator. Instantiation of void, new allocators, TP construct, args. Shared pointer. Night player. Yeah, I think it's coming through wrongly. Let's put it through as a reference. Unknown type. Are we allowed to place that through like that? Interestingly. If we are, out of line definition. Not saying that here though. Interesting. I've never tried this before. I don't like the looks of that. Okay. So we're not having it. We are getting a pointer to scene. This is happening in midnight. And it might be because we are creating a reference at this point instead of a raw pointer. Got a feeling it is. That's interesting. We're passing a reference through to scene here. That should be an error. That's right. That should just add one to the reference counter. So the error is actually coming out of Night Common here. Required from static void answer, yeah. Read some more. Counted pointer in place. Yes, it's trying to make an allocation. Night player int, comma, standard shared pointer, night scene and. Oh. I hadn't thought of doing it that way. That's what it's looking for. A reference to scene and. Really? Ref. To scene. Address. Okay. So if we pull it through that way, base mobile has to reflect. Ref scene. And we will change that. Okay, I'm not happy about this still. Which now seems to be working. That makes sense. We're not keeping it here. We're just passing it through. Ah. Helps if they agree with each other, doesn't it? Base mobile H. Yep. Mobile. Yep. Are we doing any better yet? We are. Okay. So that's all I had to sort out was the referencing. Good. Makes sense. Clean up. So that's now our player. That looks a lot better. I'm so happy with that. So I've got that down to one page. We've got that on one page. Looking a hell of a lot better. This is looking more like... okay, we haven't got the camera. So what we're going to do is exactly the same for the camera. So we're going to start here with... we don't have a camera. That might be a good point. Under mobile, add new header file called mobiles. Hash include we're bringing this into the places, aren't we? So it's source. Implementation, mobile, player. Okay. We don't want base mobiles being accessed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a header file in as we are about to add camera. Exactly the same setup. So really, what we do is we go into Player. And do that. We now call it Camera. And that's it. That's the header file. Under the Player CPP, take the lot. Go to Camera CPP, replace. And it's just Camera. Where's our ID? Yeah, ID's okay. Components are okay, but you can see how the duplication of code is now stacking up in our favor. Initially, that's what we need, but it's going to alter later on. So that gives us a camera. Guess what? I'll put that one first. We can include it in our system, or implementation, should I say. Like that. And now back in Midnight, we can reference it as a camera. And we'll call it M camera. Yeah, I'm putting the effort into the camera at the same time as the player, only because I know that the camera usually follows the player, if you know what I mean. So now we can do that. Save it. That means we can now go to Midnight. Basically, doing that. And there you go. Our first two entities are now up and running. and we have functionality. So we can use the camera if we wish to. I'm just not going to at this point. Hello. Good. Nothing's broken. And there you go. We now have a player that is very convenient to use. And if you want to take this to the next level, you can put that into any game. This isn't game specific. What my implementation of what we're calling it, well, it is actually a game now. It's got a player and it's got movement. It's a game. Not very exciting, but it's there. We now have the basis of everything you need. Make any game you from a platformer to an MMO. We might not have all the support functionality. But we're starting to look better in here. Now, mobiles can get out of hand. So what I would probably put in here, camera, player. I can't call it object. Asset. I think they call it in Unity. Okay, let's make one. It's called asset. And it follows exactly the same rule. We can go to, so easy to do. It's comical how easy it is to design code that works for anything. I just don't understand why people don't do this. Oh, player.h. Again, I'm being very generic by calling it an asset. It could be anything. It could be a sound source. It could be a monster. It could be a house. It could be the floor. I don't care what it is. It's an asset. And that's the whole point to this style of programming. It's up to the game designer to decide what there is. You need a camera. You need a player. But the rest of the stuff? What are we doing here? Player. Copy you. Go to assets.h. Call it asset. But I have 3 files where 1 file would have done. I could have called everything an asset. But as we'll find out later on, the player is special and the camera is special. Later on, we might have a class called sound. That makes sense. And you can develop things on either an individual basis or on a generic basis. Your choice entirely. The only change we need in there. Yep, I'm happy with that. All assets will have a position within your world. The weird thing is, once you've got your basic code correct, which is why I have this game thing to test it with. This is where you can this is where you can fine tune your basics. And if you haven't got your basics, you've got no foundation. Don't just click and do it what you did last time. Always read through it. You might pick up on a mistake you've already. Done. If I left any mistakes in there. Nope. There you go. Simple game where you can move around a dotted floor space in text. So we have added players, cameras and assets. Like that. So this is the implementation of player. I'll do it in the right order. Of camera, player, and an asset. Not correct. Forgotten. Helps if you add it to your system, doesn't it? Okay. That's it. That's how it works, folks. Okay, that's on the development branch. So under master. Didn't do that right, did I? So click. Oh god, it's giving me this because go to set. I just done it. We should not be on the master. Oh god, something's gone wrong already. Yeah, it's all gone to the master. That says development. Well, Git knows best, doesn't it? It would look 2 commits behind. I'm on +1 here. Something's gone weird there. Never mind. I don't care. Because it's right place. Yeah. Do. This is reading correct. That isn't. Oh well, you'll just have to take it off the master. Isn't that a shame? I don't. My local master that's out of date. Oh, that's interesting. Hmm. Interesting. Not sure what's happening there. Not really bothered as long as you can get hold of the code. Right, so that's the sandbox so far. We have a player, have a camera, asset. We still have certain problems with Midnight. This. I don't want to make the system any more complicated at this point than I have. So I've got Midnight in core. Got full ECS. We have mobile and output. Not sure what input should be here. Okay. You see, we don't have anything. We don't have a movement system, and we don't have a render system. So it looks as though we're looking at movement and rendering. That's for certain. So how are you lot doing? We've got a system, an ECS system, now up and running with a movement and rendering system to come. We haven't even got a movement and rendering system. But that's okay. Movement systems are very, very harsh. They need physics. Rendering systems are very, very easy. They just need the entities to render. Or the entity to render and some kind of map. We haven't got a map system. Not really bothered about that overly at this point. There are things that I've been working out for designing this into 3D or 2.5D or whatever you want to call it. At the moment, I think I'm happy to keep it in ASCII whilst we develop the systems. Now, the game. The game is afoot. We've only got 2 systems to go, really. And we're going to make them very basic and very simple. Obviously. Very generic. As is all the rest of the code. I wonder how we should work this. Well, I think that's going to be our movement system. There. So that's okay. And our rendering system is so huge. It's there. Where is it in here? Is it on update? Yep, there's our renderer. We've actually got a renderer already. It's there. It's only one line from here. Text view should render itself. So we have the code. I don't want to add the files just yet. Right. Because if I just add the files and start typing, we're going to make a mess. Alright, let's get off that computer for a second. Right, so this did work. Which is amazing. So now we have this thing. Okay, so we've actually done all of this. Update itself, yeah, we did that. It's not that good yet. I'm not ticking that one. Okay. Alright, that's working. So we now have movement. And rendering. So movement, we're just going to do player keyboard. Eek, that didn't go well. And rendering, just going to do a basic text starters. Otherwise, I think we are okay. So these are the next two files that we're looking at. I don't think we need to correct or alter anything else. We're starting to get a lot of ticks. The only thing I'm concerned about is this output center that I haven't really addressed. Not address. Big star. And then we're complete. We have the basic system complete. It means we can make games with it. So as this isn't going to take, well, this is the week's worth of stuff that I want to get through. I think we're going to get this done on Friday quite easily on the rendering. That's not a problem. What I'm looking for after that is game idea. So after this stage, we'll be looking at game idea, I think. And that's going to be interesting. I'm thinking RPG. I like RPGs, but there aren't any. I've been trying to find one. You see, I see a lot of combat player games, but no role player games. Where everybody's just interested in the stats and increasing the stats, and they're just basically playing a stat sheet They're not playing a role at all. An RPG is an emotional system with reward, not can I get better equipment system reward. So call it that way. I was looking at Final Fantasy XIV and thought, oh my god, what a lot of crap. It's not an RPG at all. Combat is option. Where defeat can happen in many ways. This is a totally different viewpoint to the industry standard. The industry will call anything an RPG. I won't. A combat game is just a war game. What they have made are MMOs, which are war games. That's all. They haven't made an RPG. Well, actually, yes, there's a couple of RPGs out there. I just haven't been able to find the damn things. I think the Japanese and Chinese ones are closer. Experience should not be gained for killing things. And every action gives reaction. I think that's one of Newton's laws, isn't it? That's a physical law, which means you can program it. Anything that's physics, you can program. So every action equals an equal and opposite reaction, Newton's third law. Is programmable. Do we want combat within our system? Yeah, why not? It's optional. Will you gain experience for defeating things through combat? Yeah, sort of. Can you do it? Can you defeat your opponent without fighting them? Yeah. I mean, in the real world, there's something called diplomacy. In the real world, there's something called business, which is dog eat dog. All of these real things are programmable. How simple can you make such a system? Because it's probably just blown your mind. How the hell do you program something like that? There's nothing of substance, there's nothing substantial that you can program. Yes, there is. An action. And for every action that you program, you have to program a reaction. If you can make a generic action that anybody can take, any action, then you can give a generic reaction, any opposing action, or result, or whatever. Suddenly, by going generic, you can open up a window of opportunity into designing games that aren't designed currently. How many role players or RPG servers are there where people don't care about the equipment but care about what their character cares about? There's a lot. There's a lot. They're not as populated as the wargaming servers, as I call them. Because people tend not to be able to relate to role-playing as much as easily as they can relate to, oh, the stats increased on my gear, I've got more powerful. What happens if your character sheet shows you how powerful you are as a number or as an idea, so that you can see yourself increasing in power? Hold on a minute. This means something very, very important. The results of just that idea within itself means something very important. We can dispense with level. We won't need a leveling system. What does that get replaced by? A skill-based system, obviously, but that's beside the point. We can dispense with levels, i.e., an even playing field. How many times have you gone into PvP only to be destroyed by that higher level person? How many times that happened? In fact, the games that don't have levels are more successful than the games that do have levels. The only reason why RPGs have levels in the current realm of ideas is because World of Warcraft did. And World of Warcraft succeeded. So they copied it. Ultimate Online didn't. Ultimate Online had skill-based systems. So it's programmable. Once you do something like this, you have a different set of definitions to make for your game. You still have this people who want to go to war kind of thing. Well, that's fine. What would happen if we defined our RPG as a person's story, a film? Okay, go with that. Don't like that. Something to remember. I'm a games designer, by the way. Not just, well, my systems designing over the years has been, as a hobby, I suppose, more than anything else, been about designing games. Not too badly either. I've been quite successful at it. Let's turn that into a G. Does any of this make sense? Can we define an RPG and program it as a player's story, a film, something memorable? We could then make it multiplayer. And then player interaction becomes very, very important. Let's add that. Because if you've got a basic system that can do this, as soon as you go multiplayer, what happens? Player interactions become horrendously important. You need a base story, a foundation story, a background, something that players can relate to and build upon. A goal, a generic story goal, which gives you a direction in which your players can manage their playtime. And the stories that evolve out of that will be your role-playing game. It's an interesting theory. Does it work? Yes, I've tested it out on pen and paper. It does work. So, an emotional system reward. Combat is optional, where defeat can happen in many ways. Every action gives a reaction. We can dispense with levels, i.e. an even playing field. So a new player coming into it isn't drowned by leveled players. They will still have problems against experienced players, but tough. Ain't that just the way of the world? And we can define an RPG as a player's story, a film, a book, something memorable, like Lord of the Rings. Very memorable. And multiplayer just explodes the idea into the fourth dimension, which I'm very happy to calculate in. Graphically, you can use anything. Absolutely anything. Mechanically, within the game, there's a few exceptions to the standard rules that make this rather unique. So let's add that. Yeah. Let's add mechanics. They have to be self. What do all of these RPGs have a problem with? MMOs. Balance. It has to be a self-balancing game where the power level of any one person is no greater or no less than what can be attained by any other player. And you don't need levels to do that. Trust me. I think we've got a good definition there of a game idea. Any ideas? Any extras people might want on this? So we are doing our movement and rendering next. Then we've got to start implementing some base ideology, I suppose, within the game. And it's possible. It's very, very possible. The code that we have currently supports all of this, obviously. It's generic code. And I can't see a problem in managing that within an ECS type system, where entities can become rules. if you want them to be. Who said entities have to be objects? Well, I put that into the code. I did it on purpose because that's what people expect. But at the same time, we have in C++ this kind of virtual system to be able to support systems that are self-balancing. Now, if nobody's ever made a self-balancing system, that's fine. Suppose we'll have to investigate that further. But when we have an application now that is literally this big, it's 65 lines of code, and that's the finished application, literally. I think we've got it. And it works. Horrendous. So if you do want to look at this code and think about how on earth we could do anything like this, you will find it on GitHub at Fraser Blaze Sharp Sandbox. It is written currently in Qt. So in other words, you can convert it to C++, you can convert it to C, you can convert it to C Sharp, convert it to anything, convert it to Go, you can convert it to any language. Very, very simply, because it's been made very simply. The only thing you got to watch out for in some languages is the virtual side of things. It can be problematic with some languages, so I better warn you about that. It's the reason I chose Qt and C++. Qt will also do Python. If you want to convert it over to Python, you can do so. Very simply again. All you got to do is put your dots, your strings of dots in different, reorder the lines slightly and put your dots in, and you're fine. Yeah, so the application is the top. The source is the engine that hopefully we're developing at this point with an ECS, assets, core implementation. We're doing systems on Friday. So I think we should be okay at this point. I need coffee. Because it's 3 o'clock. So what I'm looking for now is ideas on how to make a self-balancing game that isn't based around combat alone and can introduce people to role-playing in a fuller capacity so that they can create their own stories. That's going to be interesting. Be right back. I definitely need on. Not great on the graphics display in here, I don't think. No, it works. It's an entity. That's an entity. The floor isn't. That's just a rendered thing. Do people want me to add graphics to this? I hope not at this stage anyway. For some reason. Right. Oh, that's what I wanted to do. I remember. So there's a YouTube channel. Fraser Sharp is the YouTube channel. And currently we have the Sunday's review up. So we need this one. Public. Mondays was setting up for the player. Today is the player. We've done that. We've added a player. Generic assets. That can be anything. That done. I think it's go. So you'll find everything on the YouTube channel now. It says deleted, but it isn't. It's just uploading now. So this is literally the 4th stream. So within 4 streams, we have fully generic game engine. So I'd like to welcome everybody to the community, obviously, but also, does anybody have any questions? Would anybody like to talk about their code? It's a club. It's not just about me developing this. I'm only developing this currently because nobody's asked any questions yet. Well, Nano did. He asked if it was C#. I'll do it in C# if he wants me to. I'll just ramble it up and chuck it onto a thing if you want. I'm not particularly excited about C#. I've got coffee now. Quite happy to sit here and talk. Anybody want anything showing? That's going up, isn't it? That's all automated now. Anybody want to ask anything like setting up on Windows and stuff? Setting up on Windows is easy. You just download Qt and then download the Git repository. In Qt, you have a wonderful thing where if you use the right mouse, if you use the right mouse and you go to the welcome screen, you can put new. What do we got here? Here we go. Git clone. Clones the Git repository and tries to load the contained project. Load up Qt. Use that option. See if it works for you. If it doesn't, let me know. Because I've not tried it. Maybe I should. I can't see why it wouldn't. Everything's in the master branch. Ironically. I'm quite happy to do non-game questions on code as well, but I'm not a programmer, but I do research and systems design. Programming is just a side effect, shall we call it, for testing out the ideas and systems that I come up with. And I don't use things like Python because they're okay up to a point. Until you want to do something slightly in depth like memory management. So we'll be programming things that I'll throw away. Literally, I'll have an idea, I'll program it, and I'll throw it away. I don't care. It's people say, oh, but you're wasting your time. No, you're not. You're learning. You can't be a researcher if you're not willing to learn. So, if there's no questions or anything, I might have my cup of coffee and log off. And because I'm all ready for that, and I did say that I wanted to look at that other thing, didn't I? Yeah, it was the ECS system. Still, in my mind, I'm still messing over ideas about this registry thing. I think we're going to be okay. It's going to cause minor inconveniences, shall we say, later. Maybe not. It may be. We may be able to expand this into the original idea, which could be even better. But we need an accountable way of being able to reference the registry. And I'm not talking about double entry bookkeeping either. Because I hate that, and I didn't fail it. So these two are really just one thing. Better. That makes more sense. I think I've got a way forward now. If the two systems work on Friday, it means that we are, what was that? Oh, export to YouTube. Happening in the Ukraine. I think I'm 95% happy with what we've got. We just need to evolve it. Good. All right. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, it's updating to the master. That's fine by me. I have a copy of the master. So we're okay with that. I'll be interested to see if there's any pull requests. People come up with any code for this idea. Because I'm trying to define the idea. I didn't click. There we go. So yeah, the ideas are strong. The paperwork has been done in the past to prove that this works. The group of players was there between 6 and 8, the player base. So we did go run through a full story, and it worked absolutely fantastically. The rules didn't get in the way once. So I know that the underlying system works. The problem that most people are going to see with this, there aren't any problems, by the way, there's only solutions. The problems, though, that people will see, negativity or whatever, is that how do you take the human interaction and transfer that into a user interface? They're going to see the user interface as a problem. How can you, like, as doing it live, it's easy for me as, I didn't call myself ref, game master, whatever. It's easy for me to ask something or say something and watch reactions using psychology, using background music and all the rest of it. And then to implement the reactions within the rules of a given situation, predefined. Now, we did play one scene out 3 times, and we came up with 3 different end results. It was a training scene. Get people used to the idea that, well, they haven't got very many statistics to look at. They have a piece of paper with whatever they write on it as their character. And it was quite surprising how well fleshed out the characters became within the first week. And all the rules that were designed within the scenes were designed from the character sheets. They didn't know, but that was beside the point. The character sheets defined the rule set used for the next scene. And if a character developed during a scene or towards the end of a scene, then the rule set for the next scene changed. And it was a self-balancing. Oh, my bank's just changed its interest rates. Hopefully they've gone up. Now, the user interface isn't going to be human, and it's not going to be artificial intelligence, although it could be. We could use deep learning. Why would we want to? Why can't we just have something simpler? Like user skill. But that means you're then going to have a skill for every single situation. A myriad of situations that could ever happen in reality. That's correct. You would. And therefore, you should. And that's where the brilliance of a self-balancing system comes in. Because no longer does the programmer have to say, this is a set of skills that you can learn. The programmer can say, this is an example set of skills that we have available. Go ahead and write your own. I haven't even said whether this is fantasy or science fiction. It's any. We will have a tech level of 3 to 20, where 3 is prehistoric and 20 is ascendancy, where the universe becomes thought, whatever Star Trek decided it was supposed to be. What are the players going to be? Well, the players are going to be operators of a computer. So therefore, They are in control of the game. They can program the game. They can make their own skills within the definition of a skill, which has to be defined with the program. Self-balancing. This creates a player story, because no two players will ever have the same skills. How do you defeat somebody? Well, they're going to have a skill set that's going to leave them prone to possibly something in your skill set. You can defeat them using that skill, can't you? Maybe. How will you know? How do you know in real life? Do you look at your own stat sheet and say, oh yes, I've got a 90% chance of doing this? No, you don't. You try something. I have about a 95% chance of making a cup of coffee successfully because I'm disabled. But I don't have a piece of paper that tells me that. Do I have a skill in making coffee? Everybody does. My skill in making coffee is rather good. I've got to admit. So, we need to address self-balancing. How does that work? The pitfalls of what not to do and how to do it. Combat is optional. The pitfalls of what to avoid, like having somebody, an NPC, talk to you, and then give you 3 responses that you can click on or hit return on or whatever. That's no good to us. Absolutely no good to us whatsoever. This means that quests, we're going to have to approach differently. Because a quest will no longer be defined by the programmer. A quest will be defined by a player. It's their story, not ours. We will have a background story. There will be a win condition to that background story, or and a lose condition. So the server could lose. Not the player. The universe can lose. Or the universe can win. The player's interaction within that universe to address the winning or losing of the story is up to them. So who writes the quests? Well, it's the same as skills. You give the player a list of optional quest hooks or ideas, and then allow them to research them. And in researching them, they can create new skills and adapt to that quest, find information or create information upon that quest. And the quest itself will be defined within a definition that we set out, and it will have its own collection of rules within that quest for what is success, what is failure, what is in between. There are going to be some grey areas, as there should be. We're going to deal with enemies, an enemy system, factions, a faction system. That's required for enemies, I guess. Neutrality, enemies, friends. That's going to be an interesting one. Allies. They're all going to be base designed, or base definitions designed by the programmer. How they interact out with the player is going to be up to the player. So what we are going to generate is an engine that defines not the rules of play, but the rules of definition. And I think I'll leave that idea with you to ponder, because it opens up a new ball game, even doing a platformer. If you wanted to do a platformer, you would first of all have to learn to jump. Your skill in jumping would determine how well you could do that platformer. Your interaction with the objects within the platformer will be dependent upon the skills that you choose to make or take from either examples or make your own. The whole game system would be self-balancing, and even a simple platformer where you go around shooting things would become something more of, well, it would interact with the players on a different level, because they would be fully in control of their player, the player's actions, and how they use their actions. Now remember also that a running jump and a standing jump are two totally different mechanics, but that's beside the point. These kind of things will have to split things down into groupings, into areas, and make sense of it all. Otherwise, the whole system just implodes. If it doesn't make sense, it won't work. If a player comes along and they kill a monster, and then that monster turns up 2 weeks later and ravages a nearby village, it won't make sense. Persistence is the key there. Things have to persist. This also means that you can do evolution, where if somebody plants a tree, if you leave it there for 5 years, you'll have a small forest. Evolution also matters. The game world, if you choose to, can evolve. And the game world doesn't have to be implicitly self-defined. It can be generated from a seed, and that means you can have multiple game worlds with different seeds. It also means you can have travel between worlds, planes of existence. Each one can be held on a different server with a different seed. We've got communications to deal with, chat, things like that. I mean, the basic core mechanics, things like chat, movement, that's what we're going to do first. But at the same time, I wanted to bring this up now so that people could think about it and see if they can come up with a mechanic that would allow you to do something like that. As for me, time to sign off. Tomorrow, well, Friday, I'll upload this to YouTube. And if anybody wants to catch up on how things have been developed so far, feel free. In the meantime, I'd like you all to take care. If you've made it this far, well done. If you like some of the ideas, well, somebody's going to have to develop them one day. It might be me. But imagine what would happen if you did and you published a game like that. A game with fair interactions. A game with fair PvP. Ooh. It'd be bloody remarkable, wouldn't it? Right, how do I save this? So, one of the games I'm looking for, well, inspiration with is Guild Wars 2 again. I've just downloaded it. So, in the meantime, take care, peeps. Enjoy. Have fun. See if you can build on any of the ideas that I may have sprung. See if you can come up with any code. Drop me some code into GitHub. That'd be interesting. Take care. Have fun.